everyone, and welcome to Power Poppy's Inspire Me Monday. I'm Allison Cope, and today we're going to talk about rainbows. I know rainbows are so trendy right now that I've thought I would make a few cards being inspired by rainbows. So my first card is very simple. All I took was the Hello Sentiment from our gorgeous big script stamp set, and I used multiple shades of ink, and then I outlined my blue version with a Copic multi-liner. I also put some fun stars in the background as well, and if you look really close, I have also got some iridescent star sequins on there. Yeah, just to make that color pop. So the next time you think rainbow, think sentiment. Card number 2 is basically a card where I wanted to use rainbow in a little bit more subtle way. Obviously, our fun birthday cake from our party time stamp set is perfect for this. It's got some awesome layers in there, perfect for that colorful rainbow cake. So I started with that, and then I designed a background using Copic markers. This is all done in layers. And I used a sentiment to go along with the birthday theme. And I'll show you what my background looked like right before I glued it down. Here it is. Our third card is using a more subtle version of the rainbow. Your rainbows don't necessarily have to be bold and bright like our background. Think about using a muted color scheme. This one here, I used watercolors and my zig markers. And I just kept it very subtle. Everything is done in watercolor, and it too has a little bit of shimmer to it. So the next time you think rainbows, don't always think bright. I'm going to make one final card with you today, and we are going to be using some distress inks, and we're going to do some embossing. So let's go and make card number 4. For this card, we're going to use the Simply Camellias stamp set, some Versamark, some detailed white embossing powder, our embossing buddy, and some 90-pound Canson watercolor paper. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prep our surface. You want to take your embossing buddy or your powder tool and run it over the entire surface, because this removes the static, which allows all those little stray little embossing powders to not stick where they're not allowed to. So I've got my embossing set up here. I've got my foam pad underneath, a couple of pieces of copy paper, which I use from Mistaken Printouts. They're always great for this embossing technique. I've got our stamp ball mounted here and our Versamark all ready to rock. So I'm going to put on a generous amount of our Versamark. Versamark is a sticky ink. There are a few more sticky inks on the market, but this is my favorite. And we're going to just stamp in the corners of our watercolor cardstock here. I'm going to give it a good press. This is where the foam mat underneath is great, because it gives me a little bit more squish, and all those details on that beautiful camellia stamp will come out in my Versamark. All right. Of course, you can't see anything. I'm going to take this out because it has sticky on it. That's why I've got another one underneath. I've got my detail white embossing powder. I'm going to sprinkle it all over my wet Versamark corner here. Tap off the excess and tap from the back to release any of the powders. And because you've used that embossing buddy, you have no stray powders sticking where you don't want them. So I'm going to take this to my heat tool. Don't forget to warm up your heat tool for about 15 seconds prior to using. It will help in the embossing process, and it will allow you to heat up those powders quickly and without burning your background paper. So I'll be right back. So I've heated up our detailed powder, and there you go. You can now see the image in the reflection there. And what we're going to do is we're going to stamp the upper corner on an angle as well. I'm going to go and do that, add some powder, and then we'll get to coloring our card. Now that our embossing is complete in both corners, we are going to add some distress inks. So today I have grabbed my crushed olive, my broken china, my seedless preserves, my festive berries, my carved pumpkin, and my squeezed lemonade, and they are going to become our rainbow. I have a inking tool all ready to go for each individual ink, and let's go make a rainbow. Typically everybody starts with a yellow, but today let's start with a red. So let's start with our festive berries. And the key to making smooth inking is to start off of your card and slowly bring it in and across. So start off your piece of cardstock and bring it in. And you can make your ink as translucent or as vibrant as you want. You just keep adding layers. That's what's really nice about the distress ink, and it blends so nicely on our watercolor cardstock. So I'm going to speed up our inking process, and I'll be right with you. Alright, so we've done all of our colors, but I'm going to put a little bit of our festive berries on the bottom here. Just to tie that red back in. I'm going to be really careful and just put a tiny bit. I don't want too much. I don't want to cover up our beautiful carved pumpkin. Oh, I love that mix of the carved pumpkin and the festive berries. So that's a nice color. Alright. There we go. And if I thought that anything needs to be blended, I might go over top, like our festive berries here. Blend it a little bit more into that seedless preserves, but it's pretty good. Our blends came out really nicely. I'm going to clean up our surface here, and then we're going to have some more fun. Even more fun, yay! The fun part about distress inks is that it completely reacts with water, and this is where the watercolor paper is going to come in here. I've got some pieces of paper towel and our distress spray bottle, and we're going to have a go at this little fella, and I'm just going to let the water do the work. And what's going to happen is wherever that water droplets hit, when we blot them up with the paper towel, it's going to pull up the ink, and it's going to leave us with some very cool textured and modified background. So let's just have a go and let's see what happens. I don't want too much directionality in my drops. So I'm just rotating my card. Now, I find that this thing makes really big droplets even though it's not supposed to. So the other thing that I use is a toothbrush. So make yourself a little pot of water, and you're gonna wet those bristles. Using your thumbnail, you can get some really fine spatter. Get the specklies. And that's what I really love. And of course you can control it to a certain extent where those speckles land. The other thing is let the water sit on your card. Let it do its magic. Looking good. We're letting the water do its job. It's going to pull off that ink. And I'm just going to blot. And blot. So as you can tell, the bigger blobs are going to be obviously more obvious than the little ones. But the darker and richer your ink is, the more your splatters show. Yeah, so experiment, absolutely experiment. Let's go in with, and you can do this as many times as you want until you get the effect you want. And I'm going to do some more and we'll be back. I'm going to add a sentiment. I'm not sure what I'm going to do there yet, but I'm going to add a sentiment and we'll be back with a final card. So here's our final card using our rainbow technique in our embossing. And I just used a few fun sentiment dies and a couple of sequins to finish it up. And I love the end result. So if you too would like to try this challenge, I'd love to see your rainbow card. Thanks for joining me today on Inspire Me Monday, and I'll see you next month.